And welcome to another very informative edition of the Taking Social Services to the Street. I want to invite you to just bring your chairs up a little bit and stand by, because we need to have such an important national conversation on the uptick of violent, aggressive behavior in our homes. We call it domestic violence. And generally we see trends where the male spouse violently attacks the female partner. Can I tell you that it's broadened its poisonous tentacles? We have children who are being domestically violated. And surprisingly, which is a departure from what as a culture we know as women being the aggressor. What kind of time is this? When we look at even global trends, I also have a question for you and I to consider, along with our guest who's just been dedicated and has been a part of evolving to having this domestic violence task force unit where we sit. It's such a beautiful place, and one of the future programs we'll have a tour with the Commissioner of the Police and the Minister of Social Services, Information Broadcasting, and also the Permanent Secretary, because of the investment, the belief, the conviction that the leadership has in arresting this problem. We're going to make this a two-part series, because one of the things that we're going to do is after we talk to our guest here in this first half hour, ASP Kendra Wims, we're going to talk to, again, departure from tradition, we're going to talk to a young man whose father would beat him until his body was swollen. And he then turned into alcoholism and drug abuse, and we're going to find out some more things that's very disturbing in terms of what he did. And then in the second part of this series, we're going to introduce to you to a young lady whose partner wasn't married, came into a salon where she was doing her nails, took her by her hair and dragged her out in front of everyone, took her into a car and threatened to kill her the whole way. This is violence. But this trend seemed to be happening around the world. We don't have a lot of available statistics in most countries. But I'm going to tell you what, I think we need to ask another question. How is it with the available statistics? The UN did a study. The highest rate of domestic violence is in Ethiopia. In the United States, the highest ethnic group that has the highest level of domestic violence are blacks. And then what about here? We have 15% whites, and of course, we as blacks are the majority. I want to ask and find out, and I think we all should want to know, what is the mindset? What's the mindset that is fueling this rage, that is destabilizing the institution that is critical to the stability of our country? I want to introduce you to Assistant Superintendent of the Police, Ms. Kendra Wims. I just want to take a moment to honor you, because I've had the opportunity to observe, to work with you. You've invited us to be a part of, and me to be a part of your task force. I'm very honored. And so I know of your dedication. And why is that important? Because a lot of times we describe the problem, we criticize, but we don't bring enough spotlight on those people like ASP Wims. And so I want to commend you and just let you know that I truly honor you. How are you, and what is it like first in getting into this nice, beautiful domestic violence task force unit building?
Thank you so much, Debbie Bartlett, for having me today and for just having this space to be able to speak to the Bahamas as it relates to a topic that has been very prevalent in the Bahamas as well as internationally for decades. Since this unit was amalgamated in 2021, it has been tremendous in terms of assisting victims holistically as it relates to their cases pertaining to violence in general. And when I say violence, that is intimate partner violence and family violence as well. And even in some cases, we also assist perpetrators as it relates to counseling. So it's a wraparound approach on trying to assist families holistically and with our partners inclusive that also is partnered with us at this unit, which is the Department of Social Services, the Crisis Center, our faith-based ministries, as well as nonprofit organizations. With the wraparound approach, we are able to assist our victims with their referral pathways. So if they need assistance as it relates to counseling, or they need housing, or if they need food assistance, or if their children just need someone to talk to. So this unit provides a safe space for victims. We're not in a place where we judge any of our victims. As you had mentioned earlier, we see men, they are not judged when they come through this door. Our victims are not judged, and they feel a sense of safety to be able to provide the information that is needed.
How would you describe the level of importance, the critical nature of what you see? What is it that the Bahamas should know that says, listen, we better pay close attention to what's going on?
What is so critical, what I'm seeing now, is the violence or the increase in violence in our family structure. And that's exactly where it started from for decades, not just here in the community, but internationally as well. It's like a taboo. If I would coin it, I would coin domestic violence as well as incest. Nobody wants to talk about it. The reason nobody wants to talk about it is because who the families are, who the perpetrators are, and they don't want a level of person knowing what's going on in their home. So what are we doing in society with our children? We're teaching our children how to keep secrets, how to lie, because you have families, in particular women, I would say, because we find that it's more women who are reporting matters of domestic violence than men. You would have them telling the children, you better don't tell nobody what's going on in our home. That's our business. Now watch the generational curse, or watch the generation into this matter as well. You have the grandmothers, the great-grandmothers who were abused, but back then that was the norm. And we have cases today with our women when they come into this office to report matters against their partners. They would speak with their mothers, and their mother would tell them, well, it happened to me, and look at me. Don't allow another woman to come in and take your space. Don't allow another woman to take your home. You stay right there and work that through. And that is why so many women are not requesting police action into these cases. Because in secret, they want, I shouldn't say, they want to. They are suffering in silence. They are dying internally because they don't want nobody to know about it. So what is happening to our children, Debbie? These children are suffering and they are being traumatized because of this disease we call domestic violence.
But it's what is even more critical, and you said a mouthful in any number of fronts. And we're teaching our children to lie. We are grazing people in environments that's contributing to trauma. I'm sure that we'll get to that. And there's a deep history, and we need to look at what is the root of all of this. And you started off by talking decades, let me say from the beginning of time. We call it the Success Manual for Life. The domestic violence began with Cain and Abel. And why? Envy. But what is the problem in our country? I mean, Cain was minding his own business, and Abel was jealous that he was making more money. That may not be the reason, and probably is not. But let's talk about what trends you see that is contributing to a generational problem. Because you said something very key. I picked up on it. You said it's going from one generation to the next. Let's find out. What is the root cause? How many families are being affected? And are we going to allow pride to cause this nation to fall? Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
The Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting is partnering with the Bahamas Christian Council to help build stronger Bahamian families.
I believe that our ultimate experience in living begins with God and family.
Our purpose is to facilitate, guide, inspire, and equip you to have a better life.
And a strong family foundation begins with each of us trying to become better individuals.
Let's unite for a stronger Bahamas.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting, the heartbeat of the nation, leading Bahamians from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment.
Welcome back. We are talking about an area that affects all of us. If we are not in a home where we are being abused, we certainly know someone who is being abused. I'm just absolutely amazed as I interact with the community of the number of people who talk about their experience with their partners and being raped. ASP Williams, you talked about the incest that we don't want to talk about. And sometimes there's a combination of abuse, of incest, of just aggressive physical and verbal abuse. What do you see as the root cause or causes of this increased level of aggressive, violent crimes in our home?
The increase, what I see is in terms of the violence in the family or in the home have not only increased in terms of our intimate partner violence, but as well as our family violence because of conflict resolution. And I would say you have parents who have witnessed as young children where their mother was abused by their fathers. Statistics have shown worldwide that children who are reared in homes of violence, whether it be physical violence, verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, the females in that home would more than likely become victims and the males perpetrators. Or you might find that those children grow up and say, hey, I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like my mom. I want to be a different type of person than my parents was. So unfortunately, what we're seeing here at the Domestic Violence Unit is that the history of abuse, where their parents have also been abused and never dealt with the cycle. The cycle of abuse is a vicious cycle, Ms. Bartlett. If one generation doesn't break that cycle of abuse, it goes from one generation to the next, and it continues on. And
let's talk about that cycle for a minute. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're seeing now?
Yes.
Tell me, what are you seeing in terms of this cycle of abuse continuing and that contribution to that? You talked about the environment. What do you see? Is it the verbal abuse, the physical abuse more, or a combination?
It's a combination. But we find most of our clients would say, man, they would refer this man beat me until eternity. than the words that he says. You are stupid. You are a nobody. My sweetheart is better than you.
That's what the kind of thing people say.
That's what they're saying, Debbie. That's what they're saying. The words, the trauma, is a lasting effect on the mind that never goes away. And even through counseling, the counseling assists greatly, but we're in a culture that we don't believe in counseling. We don't believe in getting a psychological evaluation to determine our mental capacity. And that's why mental health is a serious thing in this country.
But you were saying a whole big busload of things right here, because you remember growing up, we used to say, sticks and bones will hurt our bones, but words would never harm us. We just had a situation with a wayward person training the Youth National Guard who seemed to have been verbally abusive in the way they cared for the youth who they had charge over. And I was listening to a radio show and someone was saying, well, you have to talk to him rough. And there seemed to be this cultural error that does not recognize or understand that words shape our world. It's a principle that we cannot change, that we are so comfortable with verbal abuse. Speak to that.
It's just the saying that we have with our boys in society. A man is not supposed to cry. A boy is not supposed to be emotional. If they show emotions, they are a sissy. That's a lasting effect as they grow older as well. So what they do, for most part, these boys grow up, they become aggressive, they join gangs to be accepted because they were not accepted in the environment where they grew up. So the level of abuse is even there. As simple as that is. Man, you're supposed to cry. Man up. Man don't show emotions. Man's boys don't cry. And if you cry, that means you're a punk. You're a sissy. Those words is what is embedded in our young boys, and those young boys become men. And this is why they are so aggressive in society, because it is a learned behavior within the homes. Everything starts within the home. We're supposed to learn our morals in the homes. It's supposed to build characters in the homes. In terms of our spiritual life, our connection with God. And for God so loved the world that he gave his only forgotten son. We're supposed to learn our memory verse within the homes, but that's not happening.
You know, this is how serious this is. What you are really saying, we are departing from the tradition, the foundation, where we believed in Christian values, where we believed that a moral life was equal to success. And you're telling me now that parenting, the parent in the home, the father or the mother or both, and parenting means the dignity and character between a child and adult. You're telling me that the adult in the home, the quote-unquote mother, father who's supposed to be the provider, they are not teaching values.
In most cases, they are not. And this is why we're seeing so many cases of violence in society, not just domestic violence, violence across the board. And when you speak with most of our young men, they will tell you they never had a father figure. They never had somebody who they could look up to. The majority of our homes in the Bahamas is run by women. Not to say our women can't do it, they're doing a tremendous job. But one time ago, the nation as well as the community used to help raise our children. What happened to that? Where that went? Now we have so many women who are struggling, who's trying to keep the roof over their heads, their children fed. Where are the men?
Wait a minute. Let's pause right there. Where are the men in the homes?
The men are out in society trying to find where they're supposed to be. If it's at home, if it's in the bars, if it's in other dealing with social activities, but the men are not there. And it's not just today or this last year or 3 years ago or 10 years ago this started to happen. For decades, the men have been absent in the home. And there may be men who are in the home. They may be physically in the home, but mentally they are not there. It's the question. So what are we to do? What is society to do? Especially with so many of our young men who are dying on the streets because they don't have a male figure in the home to look up to. It's the problem.
71%, and shoot, that 71% figure was going on for a long time now, and I'm sure it's more than that, but 71 plus of our homes are led by single mothers, and that's not God's order. I don't care how you fix it. Yes, we have some single parent homes and the mothers doing a phenomenal job, but the evidence with the levels of crime and dysfunction in our home show that we are not. Because if we were doing such a great job, we would have such a void. And we don't want, and in the context of this program, is not to focus on where's to blame, because, you know, the Success Manual for Life also says it's better for a man to go up on the roof than to have a nagging wife. So we, as women, we play our role in with our attitude to influencing men to abandon their leadership position in the home. But let's look at what the consequences. Give me an example of what you see and the consequences in the absence of men in the home. Let those of you who are watching us the feel of what you have seen over the years.
We've seen our young men go wayward in the streets. We've seen violence as it relates to gang has increased. We're seeing men out there now trying to find a safety net in other young men. So we're seeing even our women, our young girls, who are now wanting relationship with older men because they never had a father figure in their life. So we have a culture where the girls are searching for love in all the wrong places. And that's why our social media, you could find girls on social media naked. You could find our young men who are on a daily basis becoming a part of these gangs because they are being lured into it, because they are looking to be accepted. They are looking, keyword, love. They are looking for love. But they are looking for it in all the wrong places. And a woman can only do so much. Shout out to all our single women out there who is holding it down with your children on a daily basis. But women are nurturers too. They are supposed to nurture our children. But now you have a woman who's playing two roles. You're playing a role of a father in trying to discipline children and at the same time trying to be a nurturer. It's a conflict. But it's not to say that women cannot do it, because women have been doing it for decades. But the man is so important in our homes. And as a result of it, look at what's happening in society today with our young men and our young girls.
Give me an example of what you consider your experiences and what has really moved you. The horror, the heartbreaking experiences in counseling and dealing with family issues in this domestic violence unit.
Debbie, if I could stem back, I would say almost 30 years ago, when I was a social worker at the department.
So you can identify with social services. Social services produce some real, hey.
Almost 30 years ago, I was assigned to the girls' school, the Willamette Park Center for Girls, and I had this particular student, and she was sentenced to the girls' school until the age of 16. When she came there, she was only 14 years old. And the reason she was sent is because she was rendered uncontrollable. When she was released, she said, I don't want to go home. She said, I watched my mom get beat from my dad every day. That's why I ran away. That's why I never stayed home, because of what I saw my mom went through. And she stayed. And she said, I never want to go through something like that. Well, long story short, she was released. She was sent home with her mom and her grandmother. Shortly thereafter, she ran away. As time went by, I became a police officer, and I said, you know what? Oh, maybe I need a change in scenery. Let me go become a police. As a result of that, I started working in the same field. I left as a social worker dealing with victims of homicide, families of victims, and children who were abused. And we got a call one night, and he said that we found a young lady badly burnt. We went to the scene, and as we got there to the scene, they said to me, do you recognize this girl? I said, no, I don't. The officer was there. He said, do you recognize her? We didn't. We went to the morgue the following day. As we checked her property, it was the same young lady.
Oh my
Who
God.
ran. Her boyfriend killed her.
Mm.
And when we spoke, we had a family meeting with the family. And the mother said, you know, she never caught herself when she came home. She always relived the experience she saw what happened to her when she was a child. And that traumatized her. And that was a lasting memory for me. And it made me feel as if, did I do all I could have done for this young lady? But this is the harsh reality of what domestic violence in the home does to our children. But because we feel as if most women are not empowered, they feel like, I can't do this on my own. He's the one who's paying all the bills. I don't have any money. How am I going to take care of my children? So the women stay. But not knowing that their children is going to pay the price for that.
Oh boy, it's amazing because next week when we speak to the female domestic violence victim, how to feed the children, and that's exactly what she did, She would sell her body to feed her children. And as I said at the top of the show, they dragged her from out of a public place in front of all of these people. What's the age like? Do you see the problem coming, especially with young mothers having children, and then that generational case continues? You're traumatized by what you saw, and see what you just said. That she chose the same kind of man that she despised with who her mother was going through. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes.
So there's that cycle again.
Cycle.
So then what do you see with the young girls having children? Can't afford them. And then as they get older, some is 12, 13, 14. As soon as they could, be a woman, they have a child. What do you see?
We're seeing our grandmothers who are only 25, 26, 27.
Grandmother?
Grandmothers.
Are you? Oh my God.
So you have children having children and don't even know how to raise their own children. So this is the dilemma. And then you find that, and you look deep in the history of the family, you find that their mother, the same thing happened to her as well.
How do we break the cycle?
The only way the cycle can be broken is that a woman has to say enough is enough. She has to say enough.
How you
is
say
enough.
that to somebody who don't know how to make a living for herself?
Empowerment. This is what we are lacking in society today. Our women are not empowered.
What do you mean?
They're not
Uh,
independent. They're not.
They don't have the skill sets
And
to get anything above minimum wage.
right. And that has to change. We need to have more options for women in terms of going back to school, getting their diploma, because most of them have not even graduated from high school.
So you're saying poverty has something to do
It
with
has,
the
yes,
mindset
yes,
that governs them to choose compromise over long life and healthy choices.
not only poverty. I will also couple that with low self-esteem as well. When you are being abused, and especially verbally abused, for a long period of time, as a result of that, you will start believing what the perpetrator says about you. So what that does to an individual, their outlook on life becomes very different. They see themselves as the perpetrator sees them. So why empower myself if he says I'm a nobody? And this is coming from the person who says he loves me, or have my back, or have my best interest at heart. It's the truth what he's saying. And then on top of that, you're coming from a family where you've never seen love happen. You've never seen it. So the norm is, this is what love is, and it's actually not. So it's rebuilding the whole person again. That's what it's about.
What role does values play in this now, or the lack thereof? You know, Dr. Yvette Stewart from the University of the Bahamas invited me to speak to her class, and it was the history of journalism. I make that point because it's just shocking how little appetite we have for history. When history is critical to the decisions you make today and tomorrow. And as a matter of fact, they say there's no effective leadership unless you live in 3 tenses: the past, the present, and the future. So what is it that we don't understand? Most of us don't know the history of the Roman Empire. If the biggest empire at the time of that world, Roman Empire didn't die because of weapons, didn't fall because of war. It fell because of the complacency with values, moral decadence. We are a people in the Bahamas, when we pass the church, the men, they tip their hat off. What is this? We never curse in front of adults. Cursing was a secret if you did. I never heard my mother, Miss Bartlett, Frank Bartlett, curse, no. What's the role of morality?
Morality has left our homes many years ago. When I grew up, my parents would say, before you eat, say your prayers. You gotta say prayers together. Before we leave the house, we say prayer. We say a prayer. Before we go to bed at night, we say a prayer as a family. Now, it's because the family unit has shaken so much over the years that the mothers are too busy trying to earn a living to make sure those children are fed, to make sure those bills are paid. So they're not really focusing on that for most part. They're just trying to get by every day. That's what it is. That's what it is. They're trying to get by every day to ensure those bills are paid, to ensure that those kids are being fed, to ensure that they just live in. Some people are just existing in this world. They're not actually living because they're living day by day. So when it comes to morals and values and building that character, that's going out the window. Because too much things are on the minds of these women. Men as well. You can't exclude the men. Because right now, the men are not even included in so many things. And that's why we're seeing the uptick in men now reporting matters of domestic violence as well. Because the men in the country now, they're coming forward and say, hey, I'm being abused by my partner. And you never saw that years ago. But the men are saying, you know what? Enough is enough. I need help.
As a matter of fact, I know a man who is ashamed to come forward, who is being abused. I am so sorry that this segment has come to an end because we're going to meet a young man who is the abuse, but from his father. He was an alcoholic. His father was an alcoholic. He got involved with drugs. So that displaces every decision we make has a consequence tomorrow. But you can't leave me. I'm going to take you along. We're going to go down to the Simpson Pen and meet Superintendent Johnson. Because we got to compare notes. See, we got to connect the dots. These things have nothing to do with competition, with agencies, with political parties. There are too many things we emphasize. Family has to be fixed first. It's the first government is the government in the house. Whatever is in the home is going to come into our societies. We are naturally loving people, you know. But I'm amazed at the number of people that say, you know, I hug them, they say, nobody hugged me. What? Let's take a moment. You sitting right there. Say I love you and just touch them. Touch them with your words. Tell them you're born to be great. You're born to be first class. Just touch them. You could feel when that touches affection. We grew up sitting around the table and having a meal with our family. Everybody now on their iPad, not talking, not bonding. You know what happens when we're not bonding? We don't have value for each other. But we can be okay. I want you to just stand by. We're going to take this break. William Lunn is going to give you his riveting experience. He'll be back in a moment.
Someone once said that motherhood is the greatest thing and the hardest thing. Being a mother is one of the greatest things because you have the responsibility of shaping the lives of your children. But it's also one of the hardest things because it requires so much of you. It's sometimes a thankless 24/7 job. To the mothers out there who are holding it down for your families, we salute you. We acknowledge your strength, your endurance, compassion, and love. For those in your immediate families and extended ones, the journey may be hard sometimes, but keep your head up and keep pushing. To the mothers who are having a hard time being a mother, or those who are new at motherhood, you can get help. The Department of Social Services National Parenting Program is here to assist any and all parents who want to thrive and be the best version of themselves for their children. Call the number on your screen. They are waiting to help.
You know, we oftentimes hear the story about the victim of domestic violence. It's really from the woman's side. In this final segment of our show, we have a young man. I met him several years ago who has a love for community. I met him through Salem Baptist Church. And he does a lot of work in the community to inspire and help transform, convert the thinking of so many of the young men there. I just really honor him. I admire him because he's very consistent. This is not the show for it, but he know all them bush medicine and thing. He tell me he's gonna get me slim with nutrition. So I can't wait. But he's a victim of domestic violence. And he followed in his father's footstep for a short while there. His mother stood by and witnessed his abuse. And these are the things that we just have to deal with. And I want you to, at home, just say hooray to one of my community heroes, Mr. William Lunn. I honor you, sir. Thank you for all the work, that you do. But tell us your story.
Thank you for the kind words, Debbie. Let me just say this first. I am just eternally grateful to be alive. To be alive and to be in my right frame of mind. And to have life. To have real life now. Because, starting out, there was a time I didn't want to live. Like, that's how unbearable it was for me. And what I knew of a father was terrifying for me as a youth. Because he was an alcoholic and he was a gambler. And he'd come home drunk sometimes, maybe after losing some money. And it was like he just looked for opportunities just to beat me and one of my other brothers. And I remember sometimes he used to say, "Why you can't be like normal children? Why you can't behave yourself?" I didn't know what normal children was. Because he never...
What did he mean?
I didn't even know what he meant. Right? And that was so confusing by it because he never said, "Son, I love you." He never said, "Explain things to me." I only saw the anger. And so I hated him. I reached a point where I dreaded when he came home.
Then you say hate. Define that. What were the emotions? What were your thoughts? When you thought of your father, what did you think of?
Strong animosity. Sometimes rage. Because I saw him hit my mother as well. So I remember there were times when he'd go to work. We had a big yard with bushes in the back of the yard, and the neighbor boys used to come over, and they used to smoke. They used to drink a wine called Bonsoir, apple wine.
I remember that.
All the people remember that.
Yeah.
And they put the joint in my mouth and they said, "Yeah, Lord, this
Who put the joint to your mouth?
One of the older boys.
With your father there?
No,
Oh.
he was to work. That's why I said first he was to work.
Okay, he was to work. Got it.
So I'm outside in the yard, and some of the neighbor boys, older boys, would also come in the yard because, like I said, there was a lot of bush and it was spacious. And they would be smoking. And, sometimes I would come outside, and they would talk to me, and they made me feel accepted. Something I never got from my father. They made me feel like a part of them. So when they put the joint in my mouth and say, "Yeah, this can make you hot," even though I'm coughing, I still did it because it felt good to be among people who was looking out for me. And so that's how I got into drugs. And that's what a lot of people don't understand now. What we're dealing with also is a culture. It ain't just the drugs itself. It's a culture.
Define that culture. Let's expand on that. To you, what does that mean?
And what it is really is the corruption of what they should have gotten home. Because I did not feel accepted by my father and didn't feel loved, these guys made me feel loved. They made me feel like a part of them. They made me feel like what I had to say mattered. I never got that at home. So the smoking was almost like a part of that bonding. So even when I got involved in little crimes and whatnot, and it was like us against the world. That was the mentality. That's us, because the old people, they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't understand it. They just want to beat us and stop us from having fun.
A part of the crime. This was a part of the crime. What kind of crimes?
But it wasn't like how it is today. But like we'd go downtown, or we'd go into shops and we'd steal like little cookies and chocolates and stuff like that. So I didn't know hardcore crime until much, much later on, when I got really hooked on drugs and reached a point where I stole to support my habit. I stole out of the backyards of people's houses. I stole in food stores. I stole in clothing stores. I stole from people. I robbed.
Robbed meaning with guns?
With a gun. Not very many times, but a few times I did rob. because there were times I came across guns because I was so desperate. I reached a point where I didn't care about where I lived or died. I stole from drug dealers. I stole from people who I knew if they caught me, they would kill me. But I felt it was better to do that than to continue on in what I was going on in, because I felt ashamed of myself. And I think that's another aspect people don't understand what they see going on. The shame aspect.
You think in today's world, you're saying that it's escalated, but you think that without the bonding, and you can give us a perspective of how it has escalated in terms of the absence of any bonding. You talked about you didn't feel love, your daddy never told you. We want to talk about what they're experiencing on the street now. You think they got any shame though? You felt shame.
So
well, you had some conviction.
Right.
Some people are telling me the boys and girls on the street, they have no shame, have no conviction.
And there's a reason for that. See, I worked with Dr. Allen for 10 years because I knew there were some things I didn't understand about myself. And I knew if I wanted to be able to help others, I had to understand myself first. And so I went into myself. And being with Dr. Allen, what I learned, and being in group with other people, I heard other people share their story, their shame, the things that made them feel less than. And so what I'm saying is, I understand from Dr. Allen that whenever the human mind is designed in such a way that anything that makes it feel bad about itself, it has to try to find a way to make it good, because we can't take shame. There are people who would rather die than be exposed because of the shame. Okay, so the kids, here's what happened with the kids. In their gang and in their friendship bond, they take a pride in doing damage, in being mischievous, in criminal activity and behavior. That's become their pride. Because if they're not proud of it, it would be a shame to them. And their little minds can't take shame. So that's why you see them with the bareback, you see them with the pants hanging down, you see them walking a certain way. It's all a sign of rebellion that, hey, this is me, this is what I stand for. I don't care about what you're all dealing with. That's what they're showing. They're showing they rebel, that whatever we stand for, that's what they're against. So until we break the culture, and the only way the culture can be breaking, and that's what I am in the process of doing right now, they have to see the example. They have to see the demonstration. You can't just talk to them. But many times parents come to me and say, oh, I tired talking to that boy. Yeah, he can't hear your words. He wants to see a demonstration. What are you doing? Are you gossiping and stealing and drinking and doing all these things, but you telling them to behave? No, that's hypocrisy. And that's what's rampant in our land, why you're not seeing any change. Because a lot of the ministers corrupt. A lot of the ministers don't even have a vision. I'll give you
now, what ministers you talking about? You're talking about political ministers, spiritual ministers?
Political and spiritual, especially the spiritual. And I'll tell you why I say especially the spiritual. Because the spiritual is supposed to set the tone. Our spiritual leaders don't have no vision. And I'll give you an example of that. We just had COVID. We had long lines. I found out during COVID that we have less than 44 months worth of food on this Bahamas at any given point in time. And yet, we haven't prepared our youth to grow their own food. We haven't ramped it up. We haven't said, listen, in case a disaster come again, let's prepare. I went to Bamsey. I partnered with Bamsey. Someone gave me a plot of property near the church. And taught them and gave them certificates. I used to take my Jeep, take the kids from the inner city and take them to Cowpen Road to Sinclair Farm. Just so they could begin to get excited about it, because he has animals and he has a rock oven. So we have to do things to make them excited about their own survival. And we're not doing that. We're not preparing. If a disaster comes again, where are we any more prepared than back in 2009?
Not if, when, but when. I must say that Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, BAMSI, BAIC, you just said that you partnered with BAMSI, and I commend you for that. And ASB, Kendra, who was just on the last segment, was talking about how good. That's how I know to tell you, you better give me some of that bush thing that you're doing. And I know social services is also involved, partnering with agriculture. I'm saying that because there is some movement in that direction, and no, not enough. And we also have the former president of Christian Council, Patrick Paul, and that Christian Council. And sometimes it is being slothful, and sometimes it is being quiet and not showing people what is happening. So there is a combination, but I get you and I feel you. Listen to me. It's even just the order of God.
Yes.
The first thing we established was communication, talking to each other. The family's not talking to one another.
Yes.
The second thing he did is the first official or portfolio was the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries.
Yes.
And so eating and Maslow's law, and this is what has seemed to have gone wrong in our country. We just think we can overthrow the laws of the creator of all things. I love that passion. We're going to talk more about that. And what is it that you're seeing with the next generation of you? Because you said something, you said, you and your gang leader said, it's us against the world. Now that has been ramped up, and we better ramp it down. We'll be back in a moment.
Billy Graham once said that a good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society. As we seek to uplift and strengthen family ties, we want to take the time out to praise the fathers who are taking care of their families. Whether you are married or a single father, we want to salute you for taking up the charge to lead, provide, and protect your family. For those who are struggling with fatherhood, all is not lost. It is not too late to be the needed father to your children. We urge you to step up for your children and be the father they need and deserve. If you need help, contact the Department of Social Services National Parenting Program that can assist in placing you on the right path to being a good father.
When you say you wish other people cared, let's talk to that. What are you thinking about now? You are in this emotional moment. Talk to me.
People don't really care. People don't really care. A lot of people, a lot of people don't, but they don't care. They don't really care. They don't care. So much young boys I try to talk to, but it has to be like a village, like a spiritual village, like people who care for us, who care. If you don't care, it's just a job, then you only can do what's required of you, and then that's it. You go home, and that's it.
I want to do something. We're running out of time, and I could sit here with you for another hour. But listen, I want you to say very briefly, as we close the show, if we don't take your advice, you are working with these young men who are boys, juveniles. What happens from your perspective to this country if this is not arrested? And I want you to end by looking in this camera right here with what the Lord would tell you to advise the nation. And I'll just close it off in 30 seconds.
Oh my God. Jesus. If the righteous seed do not come together to be the demonstration and a light for those boys and young people to see. The chaos that we are experiencing now will become a total annihilation of our land as we know it. You won't be able to recognize farmers anymore. It's already started and it's already to a point that most people don't even recognize yet. It's already that bad because I'm on the ground. I see it every day. There is the mothers are in distress. Some have to work 2 and 3 jobs so their son is left alone. So you know who's bringing him up? The gangster who can give him something and look out for him and make him feel like a man. That's who he can kill for. And he don't care what killing. He don't care what killing you. So you have to make up your mind, Bahamas, to be a part of the solution. And do what you can according to whatever gifts and abilities the Most High God has given you to help and assist. Don't just look at us, the police. I hear plenty of people go, the police. Or it's the court system. Or no, it's all of us. It's all of us.
I have worked in the streets from Yellow Elder, Christian Massive, I asked him, Fights Murder and Yellow Elder. I went there, started the Yellow Elder Club, brought the people into training. Both guests, Assistant Superintendent Kendra William Lund, it's the same thing. Where's our love? There are enough of us to make a difference. Love is known by the action it prompts. We have a young man here calling because of his experience every day and being a witness of how we're not even loving our children. There's enough of us that know better. Judgment begins in the house of the Lord. It doesn't begin in the House of Parliament. It begins right there in self-governance in the home. I am so proud to be Bahamian. Let's get our patriotism back, man. Let's understand that purpose has exclusive opportunities assigned to our name, because really when we go back to the beginning, it's envy that undermines purpose, disrupts opportunity, tears apart families. No. There's enough for all of us. We don't want to be counterfeits by being envious. No, we are better than that. When Bahamians arrive, first class has arrived. We are here from the social services, partnering with the national security, and we're going around and national security initiates, agriculture initiates. Don't let the government beat the church. No. It's leadership. Their famine will come. What are we doing? We need to get and hold up the hands of Patrick Paul and the Christian Council in every church. You hear what he say? People hear with their eyes. They need to see. We would be in worse condition if the church did not take responsibility. And sometimes we underplay and undervalue what the church does. But it's true, we need to do more. Let's do it. Listen, please join us next week so this domestic violence program series continues. And next week we're going to talk to a young lady who prostituted her life to feed her children, and she was a domestic violence victim. We have to have real talk. And the first place we begin not is with this index finger, but with this stuff. We love you. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting, the Heartbeat of the Nation, where we move our clients from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment.